I mean, the AI was there for already some time, but it's now entering mainstream. Okay, and my assumption, and it's not my assumption, I'm just saying what I read, like with way smarter people than me, that this is going to become a threat very fast, right? Super interesting thing, for example, here related with the DAOs is how you ensure the uniqueness of the user within a given context, in this case, an organization, how you ensure authenticity, how you can, for example, imagine a DAO where privacy is the top quality, right? That where everyone is under. How you ensure who is behind that? How you ensure that those are authenticated, unique people, and then at the end, how you distribute the roles, right? Because different people can have different roles within a DAO. And with the AI, this is becoming, it was, if it wasn't even hard, I mean, so much until now it's becoming like different scale, even way faster. And tiny disclaimer, I use this in every presentation, right? Until I find like the next big thing, I'm gonna use Pepe. So our team adores, dev team adores Pepe. I don't know if I actually introduced myself. So I'm leading one of the engineering teams for Polygon ID that is making some things that I will show here. And we love it, so there's a lot of Pepe in the talk. What is this talk about? Okay, so to point out a bit what I already started talking, the threats, and then to explain to all of you guys that the techniques to fight these solutions are already here, right? But what I want to focus is that you are the guys that needs to build this, right? So do not expect Polygon ID to bring you any solution. Okay? So we are positioning ourselves as an infrastructure for identity. We are providing you tools, but you need to build stuff. We can help you and show you how to build it, but it's yours to build. And what we need from all of you guys is feedback. Okay, I'll talk more about this. So very briefly, okay, what we do, we are trying to solve the self-sovereign identity and the shift from the account-based credentials, which is you have your Google, you have your Facebook, you have whatever, which is owned by whoever is behind that. If one day Elon Musk he just wakes up with your name on the blacklist, you are done, right? Can you recover any of your data? No. You can complain to nobody, right? So we are trying to make the shift that the actual user is the owner and that can decide what gets done with the data. Eventually, take the profit from it. We all know what's the business from Google, right? If they wouldn't have any of our data, they wouldn't have any more of it. So, and that the users can manage their identity stored in their own wallet, and of course it needs to be in the issuer part. I will talk about later about that. It uses the public key infrastructure and the cryptographic keys. It uses the zero-knowledge proof, which I will technology to explain. I will explain later how it works. And well, private, portable, usable. But let's go into it. Okay, what, right? We want users to be able to prove that they are humans, that they are unique within the app or a given context or a DAO or whatever. Be compliant as well. I know that this is something that nobody likes, but we need to talk about this as well. Talk about MiCA, talk about other stuff that are coming, like regulations from the European Union, from the United States and other parties. And reputation, trustworthiness, to achieve what? The big goal that we would like to be able to have is the digital democracy, right? But to get there, there's a long path. And sybil proof, which I will lean on later on, and reputation, and other stuff, right? The passwordless login, maybe the least interesting, but probably the door opening, right, for the user. So I don't want to go too much into details. I don't know if you will get the presentation later on how this works, but one of the main benefits, I'm going to stay just on the point one, is for Web3 is to interact directly with the smart contracts. And I will just do a showcase at the end, like a few simple steps how you can do this. And the point is that we are enabling on-chain verification. But I will lean on this. So yeah, what about the problem, right? So you know, this is the famous thing that we use like in a lot of presentations. But this, this enhanced by the AI, big problems, right? The AI can, with a very high level, it can demonstrate humanness, and it's going worse like every day. For example, take captcha. Captcha, forget about it. The AI can destroy it like super fast and in a super nice way, so you cannot even guess what is happening. All the Turing tests can reverse engineer it and pass all of them. I mean, that a person can do that, but the AI can do that on the industrial scale. Right? The danger is becoming like bigger and bigger. What's the problem? Talking about DAOs, but talking about other stuff, is the sybil attack, right? The sybil attack is where one entity can operate, can multiply, let's say, itself without you knowing what is happening. So we have a DAO, we need to vote, me and Blake here, we have a bot, we put like 20,000 users that we control, there's a voting, pop, we win, right? The proposal that we wanted to push out, we win. How it works in the in real world, like in Web 2 or in some old school style processes, is personal documents as credentials, right? You submit your passport. If you open an account in one of these neobanks and stuff, they put you through a process. You go, you scan, you turn out your face to prove that you are alive, that you are not a picture of a person and something like that. But what we want to say is that there is, it's a question, and we have an answer, like, is there a way to prove uniqueness without giving away the personal information? Okay, and the answer is yes, right? How do I build, right? What are the tools? And then I'll go back to the details about the verifiable credentials. So I will stop here because probably not all of you are aware about, this is called trust triangle, right? So you have one party that is issuing credentials that can be verified, so that's where they are called verifiable credentials. You have a holder which is holding these credentials, right? And then on the third side, you have a verifier that can verify that these credentials, the data in these credentials without getting the access to the data. Super simple example, I need to prove to enter here, I need to prove that I have a ticket, for example, or that I'm older than 18, but I don't want you to know my birthday, that I have 35, 55, or 15 years, right? So there's a query on the verifier side saying, can you prove that you are older than 18? The answer is yes, no. The answer is not my birthday. The answer is not my passport scan. The answer is yes, no. Right? So all the data stays in the identity holder. What happens here is that there is a query built here, and we just released a new tool to make it easy to build these queries. And based on this query, the zero-knowledge proof is created with the data that already exists that has been issued by some issuers. In an ideal case, this would be a government, right? For talking about the KYC, right? The government would issue you a verifiable credential of your passport or ID or whatever, which you would hold. And then when you interact with the service, it would ask you, are you a citizen
of France and you are older than 18, and you just answered yes. Done, right? All the data stays here. Let me move a bit in the details. So what is there from the tools, right? I'll start from the issuers that are inside. So we have the issuer node, which is a server that you can set up and start issuing credentials. We just 3 days ago, I think we released a new tool called the Schema Builder, because these credentials need to be done on a standard, right? On a schema. So each credential that is being issued has the same format. And we released a tool that is simplifying the use of that. All these are links. I mean, at the end, I will show you a QR code where all the docs and tutorials are. But if we can share the presentation, then you can get this as well. We have the JS SDK. On the verifier side, we have the verifier libraries, and we have this query builder that I mentioned, which facilitates you to create these queries, to ask something. And then for the holder, we have we have native wallets, and we have the JavaScript SDK for web. We have Flutter and Android. iOS will come out in days. And we also have our own app that is the example app of how all this works in iOS and Android. And I will just stop here for a second because I had a question just before the presentation. A person came out and said, like, hey, I have the wallet, what I do with it? So the wallet on its own is just a holder. I will come back just here, right? It's it's a box, right? But this box is currently empty. So you need to find some issuers that will issue some credentials, or you can talk directly with the service that you are trying to use, which, if you don't have any credentials, should lead you here, okay? I'm trying to enter one protocol, and I can enter that protocol only if I'm a member of a certain DAO. If I'm not, they can tell me, hey, go to this DAO, and if they can issue a credential that you are a member, then you can prove me that you can get in. So, as I said, the verifier per credential, this is already standardized. We're using ZK proofs to keep the private information. I already explained that. And the point is that the off-chain data, which is something that all these credentials and data that you can collect as a user, can be used to build trustless on-chain verification. So this is, you are keeping the data off-chain, which is very important, and you're keeping the data private, but you can use it to build zero-knowledge proofs that can work on-chain, right? So you can interact directly with the smart contract and prove that you have citizenship of France, for example, without revealing any of this data. And I had questions, for example, in the previous talk that I did, people asked, like, why don't you just put the credentials on chain and just forget about the whole complication, right? You can put them there, everyone can read it, and fine. Well, the problem is when you put something on chain, it's there forever, right? Even if you would put the proof on chain, it's safe today, right? But what if cryptography is broken, which will happen 10 years from now, your data is not safe anymore. So the thing is, I mean, that's how we see it, and that's what we are trying to preach. Keep as much as possible things off-chain. Do the interaction on-chain, but the data, everything that possibly could be broken in the future, keep it off-chain. This last thing, this last sentence, saying if required, an option exists to partially reveal the data with a feature called selected disclosure. This is one of the important things, and I'll stop being boring. What's the point? The point is, depending on the service that you are trying to interact with, depending on, there can be some legal framework involved, or there can be a business case, you may need to reveal some of your data. So they say, you need to prove me that your citizenship is French. You need to prove me that you are older than 18, but I do need to know your name and surname as is. So there is an option called selective disclosure. When you are making a query, you can say, I need to know A, B, C, but the D, I need to know like information in full, right? The point is that the user accepts that or not. So again, the user has the control to do this or not to do this. Okay, a bit of Pepe to breathe. I mean, I know you are not hungry. That's for sure. You are lacking caffeine, I can see that, but we'll deal with this like very fast. So with Polygon ID, you can build solutions that provide the ability for a user to simply provide their proof of uniqueness. And I just put here one example for a DAO. Each member allowed a single vote. If it's not sybil resistant, as I explained, Blake here and myself will gladly take over your DAO if we can, right? And just do what we want with it. It's not that we did this already. Never happened. So what are the possible ways to handle the proof of uniqueness on issuing, right? The dumbest thing, okay, and usually these things work, like the simplest thing is just that the issuer can assign a unique identifier to the user, and then the verifier asks for this identifier to be disclosed. So I'm a DAO, ID1, ID2, ID3, ID4, blah, blah, and then the verifier just asks you, please reveal me, okay, your DAO ID. If I have this in my database, it's a double, right? You're a bot or you are trying to do a sybil attack or something like that. Depending on the level of assurance or security that you need to do, depends like how complex you want to go here. So an airdrop that has a very little worth, right? You can put it like without any sybil resistance. If your idea is to reach to as many users as possible, you will just leave it open, right? But if you are dropping 10,000 euros, which Blake and I will gladly take, right? Then you want to add something on top of that. It can be biometrical data, it can be some additional tokens, it can be like different things. But depending on your business logic, depending on the problem that you are trying to solve, you need to put something in, right? We are providing the tech, the means, but you need to do it yourself and think about it. And also, if it's biometrical, please take care. Don't put anything on chain, right? Fingerprint, you can change it. Your face, you can change it. Even iris scan, you can put a lens, right? Or in some extreme case, you can change the eye itself. But imagine if somebody gets an idea to put the DNA on chain. We're done, right? So please don't do that. The last thing here, right? I will repeat this. Polygon ID tech stack does not determine who is unique person. We provide the infrastructure to issue, manage, and verify the credentials. It's for you to build, right? And we provide how and help you to do this. I already explained this, I think. So are the proofs stored on chain? No. Can they be verified on chain? Yes. The process of verification can be on chain using a smart contract. I'm just going to fast forward through this. Okay, done. Well, there are credentials that are already available today. You can use them. There was recently a big campaign for the guild, where there were like more than 7,000 users became users of Polygon ID through our partner wallets, which we have, and I will just mention them in one of the last slides. So what we are trying now is to build an ecosystem. As I said, we are providing the tech. We are trying to position ourselves as the infrastructure provider for identity, and we need issuers, we need wallets, we need verifiers to build the ecosystem, to have the offering of credentials, which then can be used on the verifier side, and thus benefit everyone, right? In the end user, the most. Okay, no, it's not a joke. Okay, it's fine. We need coffee. A simple example, right? In 10 steps, well, in 9, right? The last one is like you are a successful one. You can build an airdrop, which is private for the user, which is safe for both parties, right? On the verifier side. And with the ZK, then you can use this as a, let's say, door opener for other things. So in this way, you issue a credential, like of course a dummy credential, right, to the user. User with this interacts with a service, which is actually a smart contract, does the verification on chain, and if you have the given credential, you receive an airdrop, right? You can check it out. There are also examples in our tutorials how to do this. Super simple, and I would really like to see people using this and throughout this week asking questions, right? So we will be here by Sunday. We will also be, if you are in the hackathon, in the ETH Global Hackathon, please reach out. If you find anybody with the Polygon ID in the forthcoming days, I would really like to see if you and understand if you try to use this and if you have any kind of problems. But again, we are not building end solutions. We need you to build end solutions and tell us what are the problems. The ecosystem, I mean, you will probably recognize some of the things here. On Thursday, there will be a Paris Guild Polygon event where ID will have a huge track. There will be a lot of presentations from partners. People will be showcasing what they build and how they build it with our technology. So if you haven't, please come on Thursday and join us there so you can hear like real life stories from people that use this. Verifier SDK is there, the issuer node is SDK, additional tools, everything is open source, everything is MIT and Apache. You can use it to build whatever you want, and you have like no obligations towards us. And there's the link. This is the QR code for the docs, and let's make something together.